yo, what's up? Welcome back. So today's lesson, we're gonna talk about step functions, and as you can see, the title says functions twice for some reason. Not really sure why. Anyways, step functions is something similar to what we saw with defined functions, piecewise defined functions. There's just a little bit of a difference, but it's basically the same things, pieces of functions. We call it step functions because they actually look like steps. So that is one of the reasons why we call it step functions. All right, let's get started. Cool. So the shipping cost of an item, of items purchased from an online store, is dependent on the weight of the items. The table represents shipping cost Y based on the weight X. So there's a relationship right there. So an equation, Y and X. Graph the function. What are the domain and range of the function, and what are the maximum and minimum values? So we got 3 questions right there. First of all, we're going to try to graph it. Then we're going to try to find the domain and range, and then we're going to determine what is the maximum and minimum value. All right. Cool. So the shipping cost, let's see, where are we? So the weight is X and the cost is going to be Y. So there's your relationship. So this is X, which is your weight, and this is Y, which is your cost. Perfect. So let's go ahead and graph this function. When the weight is between 0 and 2, and again notice that 0 does not have an equal sign. So when X is between 0 and 2, your shipping cost is going to be $5. So my starting point is going to be at 0, and I got to be on 5. Now there's no equal sign, which means that it's going to have an open circle. And that's going to run up until 2. So at 2, I'm going to have a closed circle because 2 is actually included. As you can tell right there, it's actually included. So from 0 to 2, it's going to cost you $5. Okay, so there's the first piece of my step function. From 2 to 4, your shipping cost is going to be $8. So I'm going to go to 8 on my Y value, and I'm going to put, notice again that there's no equal sign, so at 2 it's going to be an open circle, and that's going to run all the way to 4, which at 4 it does have an equal sign, which means that it's included, and it's going to have a closed circle. Let's go on. From 4 to 6 is going to be $11, so I'm going to go up to 11, and I'm going to begin at 4. There's no equal sign, which means that it's open, and then it runs all the way to 6. At 6, it is included, so we're going to have a closed circle. And then the last one, same thing, is going to go from 6 to 8, and the cost is going to be 14, so I'm going to go up to 14, begin at 6, which is not included, so it's going to be an open, all the way to 8, which is included, and therefore it is close. All right, so we graph the function. Notice that it does look like steps, and it basically jumps from one to another. Those are some of the characteristics of step functions. All right, so what is the domain and what is the range of the function? So the domain, well, what's my starting value? Remember that domain is from your X, and it goes from left to right. So what is the left? When does my function stop as I go to the left? Well, it stops right here, and that is 0, right? So that's the X value, 0. So it starts at 0. And I'm gonna try to do both formats, that way you can see it. Now, notice that 0 is not included, so actually that's not gonna be a bracket, that's gonna be a parentheses, because there's a hole at 0, which means that it is not included. Now, notice that at 2, there's an open circle and there's a closed circle. Because there's a closed circle, it kind of like fills in the open circle, which makes that function continuous. So I don't stop there, I actually continue. Now at 4, there's also a closed circle and an open circle, and again the closed circle kind of fills in the open circle and it becomes continuous, so I continue. At 6 it happens again, so then I continue, and then it stops at 8. So my domain is from 0 to 8, and A is included, which means that I have a bracket. How can I write that in set notation? Well, that would be X domain, and it's from 0, and it's gonna be greater than X, not equal to though, because it's not included, but it's gonna be less than or equal to 8 because A is included, and that's my domain. In terms of my range, so here's the tricky part when it comes to the range, because there's steps and I'm basically jumping from one step to the other. Your range is not continuous, so you basically, what it means is you actually have to lift your pencil to go from one step to the other, which means that it's not continuous. So my range is actually going to be values. So if I erase this real quick so I can see it, I see that my first range is 5, and then it jumps to 8, and then it jumps to 11, and then it jumps to 14. So my range is actually 5, 8, 11, and 14. Okay, and that is the way you're gonna be writing those. All right, and that is how you graph step functions. Hopefully you understand everything. If you don't, make sure to raise your hand and ask some questions. All right, see you later. Peace. But you gotta be there for me too.